Om Shri Sai Ram. I invoke the blessings of our Bhagwan and offer my humble pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Welcome everyone to this episode of his story through the eyes of his boys. Let's start with our prayer and we'll take the journey forward. As always, I request everybody to please feel free to join me. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Om Shri Sai Ram. It gives me immense pleasure to continue this divine saga and really grateful to Bhagwan for this opportunity to bring his stories, his amazing grace through so many of our brothers. Today, I have a privilege to introduce to you another brother of mine who happened to be my classmate. We were soccer partners. We have grown together. But an amazing story of conviction that how Bhagwan instills that confidence, that faith, and gives you that conviction in values and in life that you are ready to jump and take any activity, any risk in life. I'm very, very happy and glad to introduce to you Brother Dr. Anupamratanshankar Nagar. He joined the university at Perthi in 1990 and went on to do his bachelor's and master's in English. He finished. And then he had an amazing journey of life, which has taken him in different parts of the country. Presently, Brother Shankar works as a principal in Gurukul Mahila Arts and Commerce College, Porbandar, and he's also an honorary provost at Arya Kanya Gurukul in Porbandar. And he has, I don't want to give you his story because it's a privilege to hear how he has lived his life as an offering to Bhagwan and experienced his presence in every second of his life. So without further ado, let me welcome Brother Shankar Nagar. Anupam Sai Ram. Sai Ram, brother. Welcome to this episode of his story through the eyes of his boys.
Thank you so much. I offer my very, very humble pranams at the lotus feet of Swami, Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. It's a big honor to be in your presence. Thank you so much. Sai Ram.
It's a privilege, Bhaiya. I'm looking forward to, hearing from you. It has been ages. It looks like when we talk about Bhagwan, time suddenly disappears. It only looks like yesterday it was all happening. And today we are sitting here and talking about it.
Absolutely.
So Shankar, yes. So let us start this journey and tell us about your life before you came to Bhagwan, before you got introduced. Give us a little idea where you come from and how was the life before introduction to Bhagwan.
Saram Abid, I mean, we were in Imphal. My father was a professor in education there, and in fact, he was recruited through the UPSC and was on deputation at Imphal since 1966. Of course, I was born in Delhi, um, but then my father went on to serve from 1966 to 1996 in the Northeast. That's a very beautiful spot among the seven sisters that you have, lush greenery, and it's very good. You know, the very hardworking people that you have. In fact, Swami had blessed us with that spot. Now, as I see in retrospect, that the fondness for games and sports, the idea of working tirelessly, and you know, learning the lessons of life from nature, from Mother Nature. I think that initial part really shaped me and perhaps brought me to Swami. So, father was a professor of education. Mother, um, father, of course, Dr. Shankar Nagar, and my mother was Srimati Pramila Nagar. She was an MA in Hindi, language and literature, and
Okay.
post marriage, she got her masters. So father was also very keen that mother should, have a postgraduate degree. She used to serve in Nirmala Bas school there, and was awarded by the government. In fact, 3 to 4 times, for her contribution to, making the school, the students of the school, top in the board examinations. I do remember the state had felicitated her.
Wonderful. So they are both academicians.
Academicians, yeah.
Wonderful. So they must have given you a very different life discipline, and
Yeah,
So how was the
yeah.
interest in God? How did Swami come into picture then? When did you got to know about him?
Yeah, father was, an ardent devotee of Lord Shiva. But then we had the Mantri Pokri there, the Satsai Samiti at Mantri Pokri, and we had the CRPF commander, Srinivasan sir, who mentioned to father, that there is this very nice institute, Corrective Building Institute at Prashanti Nilayam, and that you could consider, admitting your children there. And that was, I think, in 1982 that we first heard about Sami, and around that time, Abhi, father was planning for a tour of the country, and he ensured that we also visit Vrindavan. So that's how during the countrywide tour we also reached Vrindavan,
So
and
it was just like that. Somebody mentioned about Bhagwan, that your
yeah,
school is nice, and
yeah,
your father said, "Let's go for a
yeah,
tour." And okay, very nice. And then you landed in Vrindavan.
yeah, Vrindavan. Vrindavan, we had Swami's first darshan, and that
Which
that
year was
left a
that?
very
Which year was that?
1982, 1982, sir.
82. Okay, still very early for Vrindavan also. And in fact, things were not so developed as today.
Oh yes,
So,
yes.
so how was your impression about Vrindavan at that time when you saw Bhagwan and
Yeah.
Vrindavan? What was it?
Yeah, I mean, we immediately got that, that feeling of that aura of, spirituality really touched us. One could, even at a distance, we were not so very close in the darshan lines. In fact, I wanted to, father asked me to shoot, to snap a photograph. So I was standing outside, the boundary wall, because photography, I believe, was not allowed inside. And, that was the first image of photography, which of course was a little blurred. but then we have still preserved it. And there was a lot of satisfaction seeing Swami, and um somewhere, maybe unconsciously, a chord was struck. As if Swami was preparing me for coming to Puttaparthi. Father, of course, the parents, everybody in the family, had nice darshan. And we came back. We came back to Imphal, and then we put in our application, Abhi. And this was, I think, sometime in May 1985, that I put in my application for the bachelor's program.
So that's it. So how was the home environment? How like I see your parents were all it was when I hear your story, it looks like as if it was like a sudden acceptance of Bhagwan in a way.
Yeah, it was more of a natural acceptance. This picture was the mother that we had at Imphal. That's my mother, late Srimati Pramila Nagar. My mother and father, they were very staunch worshippers. We believed, we had a very religious background, and both parents, father would get up very early in the morning, and that's the beauty of the Northeast. The sun rises very early, and getting up early was always a joy. And to this day, Abhi, I really enjoy getting up very early. That's the me time that you have. You talk to yourself, you talk to nature. So those that the Northeast, I believe, was responsible for it. The environment was so positive. Father was, of course, a disciplinarian. He expected us to be at our tables, having the books in hand, getting up on
Both were teachers, and so obviously the discipline in the home will be there.
time. Yeah,
So he decided that he should come to the college, and you
yeah.
also were accepted, or you had some own plans.
Yeah, but in between, Abhi, I wish to share that I was quite fascinated with the environment of Delhi, and my uncle, Sri Ravindra Shankar Nagar, he was the superintendent of the the jail that we have there, the very famous jail. Um,
Tihar.
the Tihar jail, yeah. And there was this, at that particular age, you're not exposed, to the right kind of people. So there was this initial attraction. I would admit that I wanted to stay in Delhi, and in fact, do my university program there too. But then Swami had, again, as I said, different plans for me. I didn't do very well at the 10th standard, and that was because of various reasons. But then parents decided that Delhi is not for you. You're going to come back to Imphal.
So
Came
see,
back to Imphal.
when God wants to pull you, He will make sure that you get a nice
Yeah,
excuse.
that's
So
true.
okay, good. So then you applied, and was it smooth sailing? You got an admission
Yeah.
in Parthi?
Yeah, father had quite a time in convincing me, me and my elder brother Vinayak Shankar Nagar. He is today a textile engineer, but then at that point of time, both of us, father, he's my elder brother, both of us applied, and when the results were declared, I found that my name was right there, right on the top. So father said that let's take a chance. You stay here for a month and see whether you like the environment, and then we'll see whether this is your destiny or
Destiny
Delhi
or
is.
not? Okay, good, good.
But in away, in retrospect, when I see that 1 month, I was a voracious reader from the start.
Okay.
I was a student of Don Bosco. I studied in a Catholic school in Imphal, and there, Father Sebastian, really, helped me in getting a taste of books. So we were fed on Enid Blyton and Nancy Drew and all those stories at that particular point of time, and
Yeah.
the books, even the series, Abhi, when they got over, we would go up to father and say that, sir, when are you getting the new series for us? So that perhaps made me think that before being judgmental, I need to see for myself, understand for myself. So I visited the institute's library, and Abhi, Swami is a witness. I think I read all the books on Swami. I mean, the primary sources and as we say it in research, and the secondary sources, and that of course really sealed everything.
So
So
you
that,
read all. Let me just articulate it. So
yeah,
basically, you read Life Story Satyam Shivam
yeah.
Sundaram series.
So all the the
How
entire
about Vahinis and speeches?
Vahinis, everything. I mean, I didn't leave anything. Whatever was there in the library, I would, when once the lectures would be over, I would be there in the library. And there were a number of occasions, when I was the last man to get out of the library. Uh, but then I really enjoyed every bit of it. I mean, I really dug into every word which was written, even
So
the
I think
secondary
that was
sources.
that was actually an introduction of you to Bhagwan in a way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The real
Because whatever
introduction.
yeah, whatever you had learned before was only little bit exposure,
Yeah,
but now you had it your own self
yeah,
study.
that's true.
Wonderful. So
And
when was the first interaction with Bhagwan? When you saw Swami, what was it like? When it happened?
um, I mean, the first interview,
Not interview,
Abhi,
any interaction. Yeah, any interaction.
I mean, it was at the graduate level. I was, more into, I would say, the duet mode. I was in the duet mode. I was,
Dualism.
yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps, Swami was preparing me for the Advait mode. I would put it that way. But then things really started changing after graduation. When I got admitted in the in post graduation, father he once visited Perthi, and he said that he would want to see Swami, and if it is possible, if we could have an interview with Swami. So that very day, as we were waiting for Swami's darshan, and when Swami
So
came, I
hold your thought. You can continue the story, but just a curiosity. So you never had a physical interaction with Bhagwan till then?
no, no,
So all of that started after your graduation?
yeah, after my graduation,
Wow. Okay. Good to have the backdrop. Okay. So then your father came and he said, bring
yeah,
for Bhagwan to talk. Okay.
yeah,
Then you approached Swami.
and yeah, and I said, Swami, Father has come, and we seek your blessings. We seek an interview, and Swami said, yes, call him. And I really dashed to that section where the gentleman used to sit, and Papa he started moving in the other direction. I said that no, this is the direction in which we have to move. Brought him to that entrance, and waited for Swami's instruction. And then when Swami finished his rounds, we were asked to come in. There were around, I think, 3 to 4 families with us. Yeah, 3 to 4 families. And then that was more of a general, interview. Swami was, blessing all of us. And then we were invited for the personal interview.
Hmm. Carry on. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. During the personal interview, there were a number of questions that were asked. Swami inquired, "Who is your teacher? What are you doing?" I said, "I'm doing my masters in English language and literature." So who is your professor? And I said, Professor Adaparam Krishna Rao. Okay, that Wisconsin gentleman. I said, yes, yes. How does he teach? I mean, he's excellent. I said, he's the best. In fact, he was he has left a deep impression on me. I mean, he was so good, at teaching us Shakespeare. One of the best teachers that, I have seen. I'm yet to find an equal. We had some very good teachers. Adipar Krishna Rao, Professor Krishna Kumar, uh, Sethu Raman, Professor Sethu Raman. In fact, Swami, we were just five, in the class, but then we got the best of teachers. Best. I think we couldn't have, uh, got any more better teachers than
How many students were there in your class?
just five. Only five.
This is an important thing for viewers to understand that Swami consciously kept the numbers very low. In my class, we were 10, you are 5. So I think science had the maximum bigger number, like 25 or something odd. He was consciously keeping it tight. So he could,
Very true.
give attention to each and every student there. So excellent. Okay, carry on. So then that was a conversation. Anything important
Yeah.
happened there which you can share?
Yeah, yeah, and then Swami, father was quite worried as parents are normally, and father said that I would want this boy to go in for IAS, the administrative services, and Swami then said, do SAI and IAS would be done. That was the the Mahavakya, as they say.
So
I
sweet, eh?
was I was nursing Swami's feet.
Once you have Sai, everything else is taken care of.
Oh
Beautiful.
yes,
Do
and
SAI and IAS will happen. Beautiful.
yeah, and that means everything. As in those three letters, I think the entire universe, the entire cosmos, falls in place. Then there were some
Shankar,
person, yeah,
I'm
please,
just curious because in those years, birthday time, we could go up and sit in the front for
yeah,
blessings.
yeah.
And I believe you were there. So, do you have any memories? Because you
Yeah,
said Swami never interacted with you till then.
I mean, I used to get that opportunity to sit with that tray of chocolates and you know offer a card to Swami. But then Swami didn't speak to me. I mean, the
Okay,
blessing
that
was
way.
there. Yeah,
Okay, okay. I was just wondering
the
because I know the picture there, which shows that Bhagwan. This is your birthday picture, right?
this was 1980. 88. That's the book of poems. I still have preserved it. This carries an autograph of Swami. Swami's. I still have
Well,
it.
well, it's a nice thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about it. We want to tell that our Dr. Shankar Nagar is also a poet. Show the book, please, once again, Shankar.
Yeah, this is Swami. The signatures.
Aha. Okay. With love, Swami. But with love,
Yeah,
Baba. Hmm.
yeah. So
Thanks.
Swami was I shared that with Swami. Swami, I do a little bit of creative writing, and I would need your blessings. And Swami, with a lot of love and a lot of affection, he said, "Yeah, sure." And put his autograph. Yeah. I mean, now that I recollect, yes, during birthdays, Swami would also sign the photographs. So in every birthday, that photograph, yeah, I've still preserved. So I've not missed that photograph, and that subtle interaction definitely was there. I
Yeah.
was, yeah, at that level. I got the privilege, the blessing of getting the photographs, Swami's photographs, attested by Swami himself. So that was more than enough, and there never was that desire to interact at the physical level. It was
But you were always involved with many activities. So in hostel life, what are the other activities you are involved with? Like, what is the main target for you?
yeah
Let me show you
hostel.
a yes. Let me show you hostel life one picture, and that should
Just,
trigger your memories because it was our very childhood fun. Look at
yeah,
this
yeah,
one.
yeah. Yeah,
They're riding
Abhi,
bullock carts.
absolutely. That was also a learning, period. For since Imphal was very far, we would not go for the winter break. It would take at least 6 days in those days, to travel and then come back. So we prefer to stay back, and we had some very good companions. Abhi, you were also there, and
Yeah,
so much of social, useful, productive work that we would do, and all these has taught us much, you know, to be self-reliant, to be self-sufficient, and
look at
all
this one.
these, yeah. We used to cook, in fact, not cook exactly, the preparations before cooking. Yeah,
So
here
this is
all
our
of us
dining,
are
this is our kitchen
the
area,
kitchen. Yeah, the kitchen area. Absolutely.
and I think you are doing some vegetable cleaning or cutting.
Yeah, I was peeling the the outside of the
Okay,
beets that you have,
so that's
and
our Sudhakar, and
yeah,
there are.
yeah,
So how was your? What is your impression about the hostel life? Since you are an educationist yourself,
yeah.
how do you understand? How do you want to communicate? Tell us about the impact the hostel life creates on the student's life in Parthi.
I think it creates a very deep impact. The discipline that you have, the the life that you should lead, together in companionship, community living is what you really learn. You dine together. Everything. There is a sense of togetherness. There is so much that you learn that it's teamwork which really matters. And at the same time, there is this enjoyment. You're it's not being imposed. I never felt that any of the rules and regulations were imposed. It was so very automatic. It was so very natural. Getting up, going for suprabhatam. I mean, I never missed any suprabhatam. Never overslept. And that's something I really dislike, strongly dislike, oversleeping and all. I'll get up. I had the responsibility. I was the perhaps the mentor in the last 2 years at the master's level. The room monitor, and there were some difficult, boys too. And Swami helped us in, grooming them and the entire framework, going to the institute, finishing your classes, coming for lunch, preparing, for your afternoon sessions, then going for darshan, bhajan, and evenings, we would make it a point to do some sporting activity. I was also into Vedam, and I really love that. One of my regrets is that I couldn't be a part of the music, department. Uh, that's something did not. That of course, Swami has compensated in my
In
better half.
poetic.
Kirti is a very
Okay,
good singer, and
excellent. How was the
so
college?
everything.
Tell us about something about your, as you said, your impact of teachers. They made a lot of impact on you. So
Oh, yes.
how do you remember your teachers today?
Yeah, very fondly. I mean, the forum that you had, the prayer session, the morning assembly, we was one place, where lot many things were happening. The senior students would be speaking, teachers would be speaking, and that was, that in fact gave us the base, the foundation, for the entire, for operating for the entire day. And then the classes would be held as per schedule, on time. There was love all around. I never heard anybody shouting. I mean, to put it matter of factly, it was all, all communication was Sairam, Sairam. That's all. In that one
I would
word,
I would like to just jump in here to tell the viewers that I think ours would be one of the rarest or only college in the world where in the any level you are studying, whether you are graduating or post graduating or doing research, or any course, our morning assembly was mandatory for everybody. And that morning assembly was designed by Bhagwan. And there, either the vice chancellor or somebody would certainly speak every day. Every day we'll come together to, as Shankar is telling us, that that the pace of the day, the mood of the day would be set. So assembly plays a very important role. Thank you, Shankar, for bringing that up. It is a very, very important element of our college life. So
Happy to
please carry
share.
on. Yeah.
Yep. And then, of
So,
course, the classes, and the teaching, the dedication, sir, that we had of the professors. I mean, absolutely unimaginable. I've never seen such teachers, even till date, anywhere in the world. I mean, the sense of commitment and the sense of responsibility. And at the same time, they're mentoring us. I remember on an occasion, we have in the frame Bhagwat Prasad Mishra, who was one of our teachers, along with Anupam Krishna Rao. And, he very quietly, I had just finished reading a poem in the prayer session, and he came, to me and said that, Shankar, this is to be pronounced as Azadi, not Ajadi. I really loved it, and I thank him for that. उसमें एक नुक्ता आता है. There is this. It's
so you had
that's
this teacher here, right? He was
yeah,
a great poet himself,
yeah.
Mr. Mishra.
It was fantastic. Both the teachers, Adaparam Krishna Rao, I really owe it to both of them, Bhagwat Prashant Mishra. He, in fact, had come to Ahmedabad to, a few years back, and I had the opportunity of seeing him with another great Hindi man of Hindi literature, Dr. Shankar Nagar in, Gujarat Vidyapeeth, and
Yeah.
he a great scholar. I mean, there was
Good.
deep
I love
impact.
this. I love this picture. Very small classroom with teachers, and you
Yeah.
have, DP Sharma. You have
Yeah,
Sanjeev Popat, Gopi,
Gopi is there, yeah, and
Kini, Sarvesh Kaul.
behind Kini, yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah. No,
Kini,
nice.
I mean, I have a lot of respect for Kini, as a class fellow. I mean, he used to move very silently, very quietly, but then there was so much that you could, learn from your
Learn from each
classmates.
other.
His handwriting, I still remember, beautiful. Every word that he would write would be like a pearl. One of the
Even DP
best.
Sharma. DP
Yeah,
Sharma had a
DP was, yeah,
calligraphic
calligraphy.
handwriting. Naturally, he could
DP,
write calligraphy.
naturally.
That's
He
beautiful.
too was from the Northeast, so we have very fond memories of DP. We would be, in the same football team. Evenings, we would not miss out and we would look forward to the sports period, during the institute. There was one period, we would never want to miss, and the manner in which, our teachers would warm up, do the warm up thing, take a couple of rounds, almost 800 meters, and then there would be, a race, a competition there, and we would want to move ahead of the other, and then even the teachers would participate, and uh, I would never want to miss out on any day, and you
Excellent.
know,
Let us hear your story about your poetic journey with Bhagwan, because that was an
yeah,
amazing thing. I think we did something extraordinary of
yeah.
doing a Kavi Sammelan and Shero Shari with Bhagwan.
Yeah, it started, I think, in '88. And there was this desire to do something different, and we approached Swami, and Swami gave us the permission that okay, fine, I'll come to the institute, and this was more on keeping Swami as the theme. We had poets from different states, coming together, and I was supposed to coordinate the entire thing. And the day I came with that card, I still remember that day. I mean, I showed that card that we had prepared. And, Swami used to lovingly call us kapis, your kapis. And Swami was reading through the names. And so when he came to my name, He said that, is this Nagar or Nagar? I said, Swami, it's Nagar. And then you should put a stress mark there. You see, as
So
if
sweet.
Swami was one of the greatest of, language teachers. Only a man of language would know that you need to have a stress mark there. So, somewhere Swami knew that I was studying, and that Adappa, was Adappa Ramakrishna Rao was my teacher. So, that connected so well. But then it was all love, we all through very lovingly, Swami came to the institute auditorium. We recited. In fact, Swami came during the rehearsals too. I now remember that a couple of times he came during the rehearsals, and then I took the opportunity that when Swami was leaving, I dashed up, and right at that there is that space after you climb up the stairs where you have to go down in order to make an exit. So I stood there waiting for Swami to come up, and then when Swami came, I just folded my hands and said, Swami. And then, Swami, raised his hand and really gave me a nice pat on the back and said, Acha. That was a beautiful experience, that really inspired and motivated us. And Swami, after the actual performance of Kavi Sammelan, Swami really loved it, liked it, and blessed us with Sheffer pens, I think. All of us were, yeah, that's the pick. Especially from Bangalore, Swami brought the gifts for us, and Swami liked that narrated. All the poems were on Swami, but then one in Gujarati and Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, and I was connecting it in Hindi. And we had couplets also, a couplet competition, one line being said by one, and the other as if he was responding back. So the entire structure, that was done, and somewhere, Abhi, I would want to acknowledge that many of these couplets, were in fact composed and written by yourself. It was from that diary that you gave us, and we had the chance to, really say it, and Swami loved it, and then after a few months,
I
we
think
got
it was a very memorable journey because in Andhra you don't expect Swami to people to enjoy
poetry.
poetry, and that too Hindi and Urdu. And
Correct.
suddenly we had written something and he loved it. He was actually
Yeah.
encouraging us.
Correct.
You
Absolutely.
reminded me actually the first. You remember we had decided that let us start this session with only Hindi, no English introduction. So I wrote a couplet which you recited in the beginning of the शेर व शायरी.
Yeah.
दिल के जख्मों को लफ्जों से छिपाता आया,
Hijr और
लफ्ज
वज्र के
हिज्र और
किस
वस्ल के किस्से
ये किससे
नगमों में
नमों
बहाता
में
आया,
आता आया,
अल्फाजों का असर कहूँ या
या
आपकी
आपकी
मेहरबानी,
मेहरबानी कि खुदाए
खुदाए
खास
खास
खुद
खुद आए
सुनने
हैं चल
आए
के,
हमारी
खुद आए हैं
कहानी.
चल के सुनने हमारी कहानी.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's
उससे
good.
शुरू हुआ. We started with that. Yeah, that was,
Good memories.
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
Bhagwan loved it so much that he wanted all of you to do it again in Puran
Yeah,
Chandra because he
Purna
said,
Chandra.
let the devotees see that.
Yeah, that's what.
So did you make any
Uh,
changes for that program or it was same?
I mean, we had new poems, there were new compositions. We added a couple of more, and then we had some very good support from Sundar Iyer sir, and it was structured, very beautifully structured. We had the map of India there, there was, and all when the Kavi Sammelan actually started, all of us emerged out of that India map, and
Aha.
we took our places, and I recited a different composition. I mean, that was also on Swami, and this time, of course, Swami blessed us individually with shawls, which again Swami had especially brought. But then it was a unique experience.
See, this is also a very beautiful aspect of Bhagwan that he never treated any activity in a very lighter way.
Yeah,
So in
very
the
true.
college, because it was a private affair, he gave you pens. but when you did it in public,
Yeah,
he looks like he has honored all of you with shawls,
yeah.
which is a very traditional way of honoring a poet or an
Poet,
artist.
yeah. Very
So
true.
it's such a
Very true.
beautiful gesture of Bhagwan. Shankar, I believe you had a chance to recite a poem with Bhagwan
Yeah,
and
yeah.
in the
That,
Portico. So
yeah,
tell
that's
us that
right.
story. Tell us that
Yeah.
story. Yes.
It was almost 3 months after the Kavi Sammelan was over, and virtually we had forgotten what we had recited, and I was seated, at the back, and the Vice President, Dr. Shankar Sharma had come for Swami's darshan, and after Swami finished his rounds, he, suddenly, he sighted me and said, "Come on." And I really dashed up, and then took my place and said, Swami said in Hindi, वो hostel वाली कविता है, वो सुनाओ. And I was, for a second, they were, okay, Swami, I'll do that, you know. And, I thought at that moment, as if Lord Ram is standing in front of me, that was the aura, and I began my poem, if you permit me, I could
Yeah,
recite the
please.
few
Please.
lines of the
And
poem.
for the audience, we will translate it quickly with the different thing, but you, sure, please recite it.
Yeah, the poem that I had the opportunity to sing in front of Swami was titled as Meri Faryad. आता है याद मुझको गुजरा हुआ जमाना साईं का हॉस्टल वो बार बार आना आता है याद मुझको गुजरा हुआ जमाना आजादियां कहाँ वो उनके निकट होने की उनकी खुशी से आना उनकी खुशी से जाना लगती है चोट दिल पर आता है याद जिस दम हम सब के बीच आकर साईं का मुस्कुराना वो प्यारी प्यारी आंखें वो मीठी मीठी बोली वो प्यारी प्यारी आंखें वो मीठी मीठी बोली आबाद उनके दम से था अपना आशियाना आता है याद मुझको गुजरा हुआ जमाना क्या बदनसीब हूं मैं घर को तरस रहा हूं साईं प्रशांति में है मैं सोच में पड़ा हूं इस गम का ए इलाही दुखड़ा किसे सुनाऊं डर है यही गम को ले साथ मर न जाऊं जब से अलग हुआ है ये हाल हो गया है दिल गम को खा रहा है गम दिल को खा रहा है आए नई सदाएं उनकी मेरी जीवन में होती मेरी रिहाई ए काश कुछ दिनों में तू मुझको मुक्त कर दे द मोमेंट अभी आई स्टार्टेड दिस लाइन
No,
स्वामी
Shankar,
immediately
say it.
became
Say it,
okay.
we'll come back because for the audience, for the general audience, we need to
Sure.
translate the whole thing in a brief. So finish the
Okay.
poem, then we come back to it.
तू मुझको मुक्त कर दे ओ मुक्ति देने वाले तुझसे जुदा हुआ जो अपने में तू मिला ले.
Beautiful.
That was the poem.
So let us give a a kind of a short synopsis for everybody else who have not understood Hindi.
Yeah,
It
this
looks like
is
as if you are reminiscing
yeah.
about
There was
that.
a time, Abhi, when Swami used to come in that 85 to 88 phase. Swami virtually would come almost every second day to the hostel. You will not be prepared. You will be doing some social, useful, productive work somewhere. You would be, in the sports field. And suddenly, without any prior announcement, Swami would be there. And we had the good fortune of witnessing that, those wonderful moments. So here I'm being nostalgic that, because I'm making a comparative study between then and now. There was a time when Swami used to frequent the hostel, and now he's not frequenting the hostel. There is, this plea. It's a plea that I'm making to the Almighty. There were moments, when you were very close to Swami, and that proximity with the passage of time, that proximity is not there. There were occasions I remember when students were punished that, okay, you're not permitted to come for darshan. You have misbehaved, so no darshan for you. And I remember that there was that one occasion wherein all of us were making prayers to Swami, postcards. All the hostel students wrote postcards, and we sent to Swami. We're sorry, for dashing into the. I think many of us would dash into the when we would reach for for darshan at that entry gate. Many of us would virtually run, and that was Swami did. Swami did not like us to really dash and run. So we were stopped from coming. And then Swami, in his infinite grace, after a week's time, we had learnt our lessons that this is how we need to be disciplined. There is the world watching you, the students, and then of course gradually and slowly everybody would enter. So
So this is the kind of mood you have captured, right? That is a nice. So basically, it's a nostalgic mood, and in which you have at the end you have prayed something. So repeat that line now.
Yeah.
Mukti wali line.
Yeah. तू मुझको मुक्त कर दे ओ मुक्ति देने वाले तुझसे जुदा हुआ जो अपने
Liberate me, O Lord, the one who gives liberation. Let me
I'm
translate it quickly for you.
I'm seeking liberation from Swami. So the moment Abhi, I came to this line, Swami suddenly became very serious. And at that moment, I thought that I'm going to get this instant, I'm going to get liberated. And in that mood, Swami said, Mukti mangta hai? What is Mukti? And then there was a lot of buzz all around, so everybody answering. And Swami wanted me to answer. And I said, Swami, Mukti means liberation, to merge in Swami. And then Swami declared in a prophetic voice, there is no Mukti, there's no liberation. You and I are one. You are Satchit Anand Sarupa. Tick, namaskar. Immediately pushed me virtually down. And I thought that Swami, I should complete the poem. And I made another attempt. Swami, can I complete? Tu mujhko take namaskar. Again, he pushed me. And then introduced me to Dr. Sharma, that this boy is from, where are you from? I said, Swami, I'm from Manipur. I've come from Manipur. He's come from Manipal. And that I have not yet fathomed, till date. Within, Swami's, it was all love.
It was all immaterial, whether you came from physically.
Absolutely.
On one hand, we are asking for liberation, so
and I'm worried about the location. So that was a wonderful experience, and that Abhi, I'm holding on to that assurance. I'm living it. I'm experiencing every moment of my life that Swami is with me. That connect, that you and I are one. Has virtually the last 35 years I've lived on that. Every moment, I think, no moment of my life, till date, would have been without, realizing and understanding that, this is the bond that we have with Swami. And once you are in Swami's fold, Swami is going to take care. This was again after the Kavi Sammelan, a unique opportunity we got to perform Aarti. And, and that was perhaps the only time. These are again.
Let us switch gear for here, just to make the mood a little different. So we come to the sports time, the most adventurous time of our, students' life there. And I think every student looks forward for this day, 11th of January. Unfortunately, this year we had virtual this also, but this was our festival, this is our offering. So can you tell us what exactly is happening here? You are seeming to break the tiles.
This was, I think, karate was not introduced till that particular point of time. And then when we first decided that, we are going to take training and, we would want to show some stunts. So I think a special coach was hired for us, and then we underwent training. And this is during the annual sports meet. I think the inaugural day, wherein we are showcasing our skills, and this is I'm breaking the tiles there, and
Actually, I remember a very funny story here.
Ji.
Bharat also was breaking a coconut.
Yeah,
So Bharat Dutt was breaking a coconut, and some villager came at the last minute and they said, "You put little salt underneath, so it won't bounce back." So that the ceremony was like, he put it nicely in a packet in a paper, and he tucked it in his pocket. As he was leaving the green area, somebody came and said, "Swami, I sent chocolates." So he grabbed few chocolates and put it in his right pocket, and they rushed towards the field. And the process was that they had to carry the tray to Bhagwan, that coconut, and to show the whole stage with the guests sitting around Swami. Everybody was inspecting that coconut, that everything is fine. And they did that, and they brought it back. And Bharat put his hand inside to pick out, salt. There came out chocolate, and he did not know what to do. So he threw the chocolate and he smashed it without worrying, and it was such a hard that it broke.
good
And I
heavens.
remember for tiles also,
Yeah,
first year, before this year, there was another, much before you came, I think 2 years before, uh, boys had done this tiles, not tiles, actually our sisters from Anantapur has done this as sports. And they did this stunt little bit, but they broke two tiles. Only two tiles they had kept, and obviously they are girls, so they broke it. And Swami praised them like to skies. And Bhagwan was like, "Look, my daughters did this, they are amazing," and all that. And our boys went back and they smashed the tiles more afterwards. They said, "Yeah, it was such a simple thing, but just
right.
because the girls did it, Swami is praising them." So next year, when your turn came, Bhagwan looked at the practice before. It was very small, it was two or three
Yeah,
tiles kept. And Bhagwan says, "What is this? My girls have broken it." So then it became a challenge for people that we had to raise it. So the number of tiles started increasing. And I think one of the stunt was also to make it a largest style pile, and then they put a fire on it
yeah,
just to make it more interesting. So it was
yeah.
a fired one, and then you all broke that. So
That's true. That's
so
true.
that's how the evolution of tile breaking also happened. And Bhagwan always pushed us to the limit. He never allowed you to compromise in a smaller way. It was not just a for okay, anybody can break tiles. So he
Very
made
true.
that. So it is I remember that how he used to make it very interesting for everybody. Excellent. And this is your group?
Yeah, this is the final year. All the coordinators and co-coordinators, of all the houses, and we have the vice chancellor too, along with the Swami, uh, vice
Professor
chancellor
Saraf.
Saraf, Professor
Yes.
Saraf. Yeah. This was again a unique, group photograph with Swami.
Yeah, you had Bharat, GB, Sanjay, Ramakrishna.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we lost him, but yeah,
Okay.
that is beautiful. So you are
Yeah.
also a sprinter, I believe, a
Yeah.
long distance
Uh,
runner, eh?
yeah, I mean, I participated except the 100 meters. I was in all the events. 200. This is 400. 4 into 400 relay. 800 meters, 1500 meters, 5000 meters, and 10,000 meters. I
People
would.
can even see the ground at that time. Today,
Yeah.
when you see the stadium, it looks like an international stadium with all the turf and everything. This is how it was way back at that time. No trees, red soil, a different area to play with. And this was after a soccer game.
Yeah, Swami had, we got the news that Swami is going to, come and see our match. So, we really, put our heart and soul into that match and trying to display the best of kicks. And then following the match, Swami came down, from the stage. And then this was this group photograph. We had some very good footballers. Yeah, this was our gymnastic group. Kishan Lal sir, he was our mentor.
That's our gymnastic teacher from army, Kishan Lal. Yeah.
the entire
Interesting. So
group.
this is what you're leading the campus
Yeah, this was
march
the
past.
final year of my masters. I got the opportunity to lead all the groups, and Abhi, if you permit me, there is this nice episode which is
Sure,
related
please.
to this. The shoes that you would see in the photograph. I mean, these
Yeah.
shoes. In fact, during the practice sessions when Swami had come, my sole had become a little loose and it was flapping. But it not only I knew it, and perhaps not others. But then it was quite uncomfortable while doing the march past. So when all the groups had assembled, all the primary, high school, and all the college students, Swami was virtually serving, and immediately he called out, come up here, boy, come. And I rushed up, and Swami very quietly said, "Hey, what's wrong with your shoe?" I said, "Sorry, pardon me, and I'll get another pair for the finals." Uh, Sought his forgiveness, and but then this is even the minute, the most microscopic things also would not escape Swami's eyes. He
So
was
beautiful.
a perfectionist, and it was wonderful. Again, I was blessed with this opportunity, and sports. I think we participated in football, cricket. This is again another picture. We're celebrating Christmas in the hostel, and we wanted to play the Three Wise Men. So we have I think Gopal in the center, and I'm there, and Raju, Dungappa Raju.
Yeah, D Sairam. D
D side,
Sairam.
sorry, yeah,
D
D
Sairam.
side. That's right. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was fun. Going down all the corridors, every classroom, and then Santa Claus also was there. And chocolates were distributed all around, and
So you
really
had
enjoyed.
you were into drama also, I believe, right?
Yeah, dramatics. There was one occasion when I was playing the role of a sadhu, and the few dialogues that were allotted to me. Yeah, this was again in the final year. We had Abhi. You were also a part of this skit that we
Krishna
had.
episode, yeah.
Yeah, and the commentary which had to be given. You'll remember, we had done a lot of rehearsal for that. मैं समय हूँ,
That's from
आज
Mahabharat.
इतिहास
They are taken
from
from the
Mahabharata. Yeah,
Mahabharat episode. But it is so nice to see that Bhagwan would informally come to a hostel even to enjoy these things. And he was very different in the hostel. And for this play, if you recall, he was sitting on the side of the
yeah,
stage.
that's true.
And our actually brother Pallav was here. He mentioned about that story. And even Umesh Dang was here last week, and
Right.
who remembered doing a caricature mono acting on this day. And Bhagwan was sitting on the side of the stage. He didn't want to be a guest. He sat on a ordinary
Yeah,
steel chair, and he was recalling that. So it is the same time picture.
yeah.
It's such a beautiful memories,
Actually,
huh?
yeah, yeah. This was the sadhu, Bhiksham Dehi. I remember the dialogue. I had to go around the stage saying Bhiksham Dehi. That
Beautiful.
the makeup too was done, in a matter of moments. This was another, good fortune we had of being a part of a play. And Swami was, all laughter after seeing the performance of a boy who had played the role of a girl. And this was again in the
Actually,
institute.
many people ask about the humor part of Bhagwan, and since you have shared this picture, I have a very beautiful memory of this. The boy who acted like a girl, obviously he was our classmate, and it was done on a college level program. And he certainly did not look like a girl, even though he was wearing a sari and all that. So, and the storyline goes quickly that a boy looks at her and he falls in love with her, and he kind of revolts, and later on he recovers and all that. So that was a storyline. And next day evening, Bhagwan came out of the portico. He called the hero, the boy who was acting like a lead role, and he said, and very seriously, Swami talked to him, and it's a very amazing, how Bhagwan can be humorous. Bhagwan very seriously goes to him and he says, "Tumhara aankh theek hai? Your eyes okay?" So he was like, "Yes, Swami, I can see very well." So Swami said, "तुम क्या देखा उस लड़की में? What did you see in that girl?" So, oh my God, the whole portico started roaring, laughter. Oh my God. And Swami said, "Hey, I did not sleep the whole night looking at her face.
Good
How
heavens.
did you fall in love with her?" So you can imagine the humor there that, what did you see in her? I lost my sleep. It was such a hilarious. And Swami said, Hasan karta, I joking.
Right.
But it was such a beautiful thing, that how Bhagwan can, pull that humor out of it and, get involved in every small activity of the students. It's so nice. Thank you,
Right.
Shankar, for, bringing out these beautiful memories.
Said,
Okay, let us change the gear slightly. And before I come back and ask you a few more things about the college life, uh, let us come to after your imphal, like, sorry, after your masters. So after masters, what happened? You went
after
back to which place? Hmm.
Yeah, I was in Delhi for some time with my at my uncle's place, but then that, of course, as I said earlier, destiny had different plans for me. So I reached Imphal. I was there were some responsibilities. In fact, I took upon myself. My father was on the verge of retirement, and my younger brother and sister, they had to be taken care of. So I was keen to get into service. So at the same time, I registered. I wanted to continue with my studies. I registered for my doctorate and with Manipur University in the Department of English. And I had in Dr. Subhash Chandra Shah. I would also want to remember him, a very good guide. He was formerly the vice chancellor of at Agartala, Tripura University, and I set for this NPSC exam, and I was called for interview at Kohima, and with Swami's blessings, we cleared, the interview too, and I was posted in PIC, and they asked me, would you want to go to this very deep interior, place? We have, it's away from the center, and um, it's very, very deep, and it's even infested with cannibals, and not many prefer to go there. I said, no, it's okay with me. I'll definitely go. And got the appointment order, and I wanted to seek Swami's blessings. And around that time, as I said, I took on this responsibility. I wanted my younger brother to get admitted, in Swami's Institute, my sister too. So my younger brother had, he cleared, the entrance test, and he joined the BSc program at Brindavan. But then my sister, was not that fortunate, and we followed Swami from Perthi to Brindavan. And I had also to share this that Swami, I've got an appointment, and I would want to, begin. And I would want to share, Abhi, that I did have that option of staying back in Perthi and whiling time there, as I see in retrospect. But then somewhere I thought, it was quite deep inside that all that I had to assimilate and accommodate in my mental hemisphere. All the learning which has taken place. I really need to test that out. Whether what I have learned is just theory, and that to do would I really prove to be a good student of Swami. So I was keen to accept this appointment, and it's with that background that I approached Swami in Vrindavan. And I pray as Swami was coming. I prayed to Swami. Swami, I've got this appointment order from Nagaland. The governor signs the orders there, and I showed it to Swami, and Swami had just one word again, very seriously: go. And that was it. I never turned back, so immediately landed up in Nagaland. It was quite difficult. In fact, I was supposed to join on the 15th of June 1991, but then the buses were not operating, and there were around three or four of us, and so we somehow managed to hire a vehicle, and when we were about to reach Peak, this is around 200 odd kilometers from Kohima. Peak, it's around on the other side. It's around 200 kilometers from Burma. The vehicle, in fact, stopped. And it was the dead of night, and we had to ensure that the lady members in the car were sent. So that being done, there were two of us. I had a friend. I do recall his name, Christopher Prabhuraj. And he was from South. And both of us, we passed the entire night in the vehicle. And we were protected by Swami because that was a densely forested area, and a lot of animals were seen moving around. Swami really saved us, and the next day, of
Is it?
course.
Isn't that the place where you have a lot of Ulfa militants also around
Yeah,
there?
yeah, yeah. That was a militant prone area, and I joined. And on the very first day, we got the instruction that look here, if you have to stay here, you'll have to pay hafta. You'll have to. There's a price, and
Hafta is like a weekly, what should I say?
monthly.
Is a monthly contribution, so to say, that you have to pay to this gang to keep you safe in this place, to remain safe in the place. So that's what hafta means. Yes, Shankar, please
Yeah.
carry on.
So, and I said, now coming from Swami's Institute, you would not want to do anything wrong. And, we have been, tutored and taught that way that nothing, is more important than speaking the truth. And of course, speaking it politely, Priyam Briyat, as they say. So I
Satyam
sat with
Bharat, Priyam
them.
Bharat. Mm.
And I said that I'm going to work here. I'm here. I've come on my own accord, and I'm prepared to work not the defined 5 hours or 6 hours, but I'm prepared to work for the entire day. But then this is something which is against the very principles of education, and they understood my point of view. And for almost a year and a half before I was trying to move, before I shifted to Kohima, I had the opportunity of working with the students there, and the students were very hungry for knowledge. You know, I love their approach, their attitude. It was as if that they have not been taught for quite a while. They're looking for a teacher, and gradually, we had more recruitments taking place. And but then I have some very fond memories of Hague and even Kohima. A year and a half later, I shifted to Kohima Baptist College there, where we had the old cathedrals as classrooms, the old cathedrals, and we would at the F5 level we would have over 500 students sitting in a class. And can you believe it? That was pin drop silence, and every student, was into it. They would learn, they would participate in all the activities, and they would do well in the exams. They were into sports. In fact, I enjoyed playing football with them, and then, of course, one fine day I used to visit my parents, Abhi, in Imphal, and every Saturdays and Sundays, which was from Kohima, it was around, from Peck, it was around 280 kilometers, and I was to drive down. You know, I had a T5 Vespa there. It's recommended for mountains. I would drive down. It took me around 8 hours, and then I would not be tired. Having driven in the mountains, with that fresh air and all, I would
Beautiful.
get to work. And
So you
one of
not
those,
only so you not only refuse the ulfas that to pay from this their commission,
yeah, yeah.
and you taught the children. And so when you left after a year and a half, how was the feedback? How was the response?
Yeah, the response was wonderful. In fact, I remember there was an occasion we got the news that our principal was to be assaulted. I do remember that now, and we got the information late in the evening, and we didn't want this to happen. So a few of us got together, went up to the principal's place, took put him into a vehicle and transported him to the capital, Kohima, overnight, that nothing should happen. So the next day when these guys came to us all, they found that the principal was not there. That life had to be protected, at all costs. And I really love, I really still very vividly remember those days when all of us got together and overnight we shifted the gentleman to Kohima. I still remember his name, Nibaran Chaudhary. The principal was from West Bengal, Nibaran Chaudhary, and he was so happy that he was when we met him later in Kohima, and in Kohima too. I mean, I stayed for a year or more, after FAIT, and there again, we had over 3,000 students. It was a big college, one of the best colleges. We were into that during that period, 1992, 93. We had the Bharat Jan Vigyan Jatha movement taking place. So wherein we wanted to free people of superstitions. So the training that we received at Swami's Institute, we put it into practice here. We wrote scripts, for the Bharat Jan Vigyan Jatha, and all these scripts, then we distributed among. There were around 10 colleges in the entire district, and we had an inter-college competition on these scripts. Yeah, I remember there was a Swami's devotees. One Dr. K.K. Sharma. In fact, he was the vice chancellor of the Northeastern Hill University. He was in Vrindavan as a professor of education for some time, and then, of course, he worked as a professor and then vice chancellor. His family was there, and we used to, day in and day out, we'll work on the scripts, and that was a unique
So when things were
experience.
going fine, why did you
Yeah.
try to move from Nagaland then?
Yeah, as I said, Abhi, I used to, shift, shuttle rather, between two capitals, Kohima and Imphal.
Okay, okay.
So my
Your
parents were in
family was
Imphal.
parents
Yeah,
were there. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So one fine day, my mother said, only my mother was there with me. That Shankar, she was to call me Shankar. Let's go to Gujarat, and we had our discussion, and she said that, look here, all your ancestors were from Gujarat, and I think that's where we belong. You should make an effort, and that was it, Abhi. The mother's word is as good as the word of God. And I said, okay, if I need to, start working in that direction. And I had a good friend there in Kohima, Abhi. He was a bank manager of the Union Bank of India, one Mr. Mishra. So I borrowed my salary from him. I was paid 3,000 rupees in those days. So I took 3,000 rupees as advance, and I wrote him a letter that you could collect my salary, from the college. And I came up to Gujarat, not knowing anybody, no recommendations, no affiliations, no connections, and I didn't have any knowledge of Gujarati. That was, I think it was around yeah, month of May 1993. And I found a good, guide in Dr. Shankar Nagar. I remember in the
Yes.
initial part, I made a mention of him. He was a man of letters of Hindi language and literature. So he would help me that he would say, I would call him up. He would say, go to this place. There is a, advertisement you could apply. So almost for a month, I was applying everywhere, and everywhere, I would be asked a question, do you know Gujarati? And I said I would. My mother tongue is Gujarati, and I would pick up the language. And okay, they would say,
But you
okay,
couldn't
yeah.
speak at that time. You couldn't
No,
speak at that time.
I couldn't. I couldn't. Even the alphabets were Greek and Latin to me, and I found a good sister there. My a distant sister. She taught me Gujarati, made me learn, recognize the alphabets, and I had my first appointment in Srimati Sadguna Arts and Commerce College at Ahmedabad.
Hmm.
Uh, but in Abhi, I stayed there very briefly because Ahmedabad was very hot, very hot. I was coming from Nagaland and I couldn't tolerate the heat. And so I started looking for a different venue. And around that time, there was a family in Porbandar, Dr. Naresh Bhai Pandya, and talks of marriage were had been initiated by father. So we thought that this advertisement in Porbandar, since the family is in Porbandar, I could try out Porbandar. So and Porbandar I found to be much more it was cooler than Ahmedabad, and
Obviously, getting married there.
yeah, and the land of the Mahatma. I have always carried that that Gandhian impression all through. So the trustees asked that okay, we'll take you, but then you have to give a commitment that you would not leave us for 5 years at least. You'll be here with us for 5 years. I said, fine, I'll be here for 5 years. So for 5 years, I was in Porbandar, and that's the period when I got married to to Keki Pandya. She's my better half, and you'll be happy to know that she was blessed by Swami in 1972. Around 72, when Swami had visited Jamnagar, she broke the cordon and virtually caught Swami's robe, and then Swami blessed her in 1972, and so that was one of the interactions we had when we were, discussing about the possibility of marriage. And I thought that maybe, you see, this is the link. Maybe when Swami was blessing Ketki in 1972, he would have blessed her that maybe one day, somebody who had studied in my institute, that's the divine bonding that is going to
Hmm.
happen. So I was in Porbandar for 5 years again, as a lecturer in English, and then of course I moved from Porbandar to Patan as a reader in the Department of English, Hemchandracharya through Gujarat University,
Is it the
and
same time when your mom was unwell?
that no, that happened a little earlier, 93. Yeah, that's around the time when I was in Nagaland.
Okay.
93. My mother was diagnosed with an ailment of the heart, and the doctors Abhi had said that she does not have much time. So all of us contacted a lot of hospitals, but then they didn't have vacancies. Apollo Hospital, AIMS at Delhi also we had approached, and then my younger brother, as I shared with you, he was studying in Swami's Institute. I think he was in his masters at that point of time. So I told Padam in Padmanabh that why don't you talk to Swami about mummy's health, mother's health, and brother, went up to Swami and said, Swami, mother is not keeping well. And then again, Swami made again, again another Mahavakya, mother or grandmother? Mother said, mother. Again he repeated, mother or grandmother? Mother. And she was blessed with a heart surgery there. Bharat, incidentally, was in that room. I remember I'd come to see mother after the post operation, and Bharat gave me that dress, that green dress to go inside the ICU. And Swami especially came to bless, Mummy there. And even at that point of time, Swami asked her,
Okay, this
"Where have
was
you come
okay. So
from?"
this was done in Parthi only then. Okay,
Yeah, the heart hospital.
okay,
Uh,
okay.
in fact, they were following the heart operation. The mother had eye surgery too. There was a
Hmm.
complication which had developed, and again we had prayed to Swami, and Swami had permitted that. Doesn't matter. They were the doctors were against multiple surgeries, but then Swami blessed her, and mommy had the cataract removed, and she was doing well after that. I mean, that was in '93. But then, Abhi, the point that I would want to share with you here is that around that time in '96, my grandmother, she was well. When Swami said that mother or grandmother, he knew somewhere that grandmother is okay. You know, so my mother passed away in 1996. As if the 3 years, and my grandmother passed away in 1993. So the 3 years, because she was hale and hearty at that particular point of time, as if Swami, credited 3 years from her life
No,
to my
actually, he
mother's.
indicated that the grandmother is going, not your mother. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, which
So
you
that,
also did not know that she was like,
yeah,
because she was healthy that way. Okay,
yeah,
great.
sure. Healthy.
Hmm. So let me take this journey to your that I want you to take after the couple of you went to Patan for reader, and
Yeah,
then you joined this beautiful institution called Jasani College
yeah. Jasani College.
in
Yeah,
Jasani College in Rajkot.
yeah,
Actually, that is the story which I would like you to narrate. How you tell us about how
yeah.
you were selected there, because I believe that was a very good college in the earlier time, but it had got messed up with all the social elements, I would say, antisocial elements. So please tell us the whole thing.
Yeah, Abhi, I was in Patan, as I said, for around 7 years. So it's around that time, I mean, the society, of course, starts recognizing that, okay, this is a person with some qualities. So the management of Jasani College, the Vidyotejak Samaj, they called me up and they said that, they would want to have a meeting. We have heard about you. You're a man of principles, and, this is there is a job for you to be done. And we had, in fact, 3 meetings, and they said that we would want to restore the former pride of the institution. And there, Abhi, I had to make a choice. Either I go in for professorship. As per UGC rules, you are eligible for 2 personal promotions, and with Swami's grace, I was a direct recruit all the places, and I had never taken any personal promotion. So it was self versus society. So I had, and everybody advised me against it. I'll be very honest with you. I mean, my father, my parents, nobody leaves a university. And here I was, they thought that I was demoting myself to the post of principal. But then I looked upon as a challenge, and this was actually where I would be putting all the value systems to test, whether I really am able to live by these values that I have, that have been ingrained in me. So I took charge of this, very old college, Jasani College. I think it was 2004 when I took charge, the 17th of August, 2004. And the strength of the college was 15, over 1500, and there were around 50 odd students, to welcome me with a few teachers. And in a week's time I realized that it's going to be quite difficult, because you have to restore the institution. No classes were being held. Teachers would not teach, students would not come to the college. And in a week's time, I smelt that you have to initiate the repair work. So we started writing letters. We drafted letters. We wrote to all the students, all the 1,500 students, we posted letters and we appealed to them that, look here, this is an educational organization, an institution that is supposed to build character. So, please permit, your children to come to the college. And I assured them that we would conduct the classes. We got the approval of the Vice Chancellor too for this special exercise. And with Swami's blessings, Abhi, in 1 week's time, the results started showing in, and in 15 days' time, almost 80 to 85% of the strength was visible in the college. And the teachers, of course, willy-nilly, they had to start teaching, doing their work. We had planned out that we would want to have a terminal exams too, in the letter that we had sent to the parents. So, as the term came to a close, everybody started wondering as to what's going to happen now, because the college had a reputation, a notorious reputation of using unfair means in the exams. They would open the books, they would not be afraid of anybody, and they would copy in the university examinations, and we wanted to prepare for that. So, I got the news, from the commissioner that they're thinking of assaulting me, and they would not permit me to read the site of the college. So I took a roundabout turn, the Raya Road, reached on time. We had planned out the entire examination schedule of in 2 sessions. We rang the bell, and the examination started. And Abhi, when I started taking the rounds, I was shocked that in every classroom, everybody was using unfair means, and the teachers were just standing there doing nothing. And on inquiry, they said that this is how things are. You can't do anything about it. We have to live in the city. They would say it in Gujarati, "Amare gamma rehu che, ama gamma rehu che." Even I have to live in the city. I said that this is not how things are done. So I really got annoyed, and I came down, struck the bell. The PN was hesitant, so I rang a long bell, got all the students, got all the teachers. I had an emergency meeting with the teachers. I said that this is not how examinations are conducted.
So
And
you
then
you stopped the examination at that time.
yeah, yeah, I immediately stopped. I mean, this is not how I would want the examinations to be done in this
So in the
college.
middle of the whole thing, you stopped the exams and you
Yeah,
called everybody out. Okay.
yeah. I had an assembly. I spoke to the students. I spoke to the teachers, and the teachers, of course, they raised their hands that this is, how things are, and this is the old story, and all that stuff. So I had to take a quick decision. So I took an assurance from them that whatever I'm going to do now, they will have to accept that. Since they are not giving me any inputs, they will have to accept my inputs. So I called up the Vice Chancellor, the Vice Chancellor of Saurashtra University, Mawani sir. The acting controller of exams then was Deepak Pandya sir. And I said that, sir, I would like to conduct an experiment and I need your consent and permission. And they had a lot of trust and belief. And they said, okay, Dr. Nagar, please go ahead. So I came out, I made an announcement to all the students that examinations would be conducted as per university rules and regulations. And those who are interested in using unfair means, for them, we have a different format. They could come to block number 13. For example, if there were 12 blocks, the 13th block was meant for these students. So the bell was struck. We wanted the second session to go as per schedule. And when I went on my rounds, I noticed that in all the 12 blocks, things were going. The teachers were doing their duty. No unfair means was being used. And when I came to the 13th, I found that there were around 36 students seated there. Not 36 students, I would say 36 hooligans. With their with the way you could visualize hooligans with the open chests and with the chains dangling on their necks with a lot of stuff in their mouths, and they said in the local language that okay, let's see what you're going to do. They were shouting abuses and all. And I was supervising there. I said, okay, whatever you have to do or write, you can submit your papers to me. So willy-nilly, they finished the papers, and I took custody of their handwritten papers, and that was it. And then we suddenly, these people started wondering as to what is this principal doing, 12 blocks, exams have gone properly, 13 block, all our answer papers are in his custody. And the next day, a few students from that 13 block, they came up, sir, we would want to write the exam the usual fashion. We don't want to sit in this room. I said, okay, go ahead. And by the third or the fourth day, there was in fact the numbers reduced drastically, and by the fourth day there was nobody in the 13th block. So the examinations got over. For the first time in the history of the institution, Abhi, we got the examinations conducted, and we told the teachers, now you have to evaluate, which of course was quite cumbersome for them, but they're not used to taking examinations and evaluating. But then I made myself very clear to the students and the teachers that only those who pass, they would be admitted in the second term. And now that Abhi, we had got an idea as to who the hooligans in the institute are. I prayed to Swami, and Swami was always guiding us. Swami said, the inner voice said that, let's have a meeting of the parents of these 36 students, these hooligans. So that we are into some counseling, we called them, we spoke to the parents, and all the parents, they raised their hands, that these students are not in our control. We give you full authority. You do whatever you want, but then we can't do anything. They are not under our control anymore. And I said, okay, fine, then you'll have to agree to whatever decision I take. You'll have to respect that. And they said that again, we have full trust in you, and we know that you will not do anything, which is against the interest of students. And then I had a meeting with these 36 students. And I said that now you have to give me a promise that you're not going to come to the college to vitiate the atmosphere, for the next 3 months till the university examinations come. Please stay at home, do whatever you want, but then don't come to the college. It was a standing instruction. Don't worry about your attendance part. I'll take care. For Abhi, I had to ensure that the decorum of the college was not lost at any point of time. We had introduced the prayers in the college. In the classes were going regularly. Activities were being done. We were celebrating national festivals. The Independence Day, flag hosting ceremony, which was a long forgotten feature. We reintroduced that, and everything for 3 months with Swami's grace. We went on very well, very well. And that was because these 36 students were not coming in the periphery of the college campus.
What was your
Now,
total strength of the college?
1,500 plus,
So
1,500
can you
students.
imagine 1,500 students being controlled by 36 students,
Yeah,
and they were creating the mess for all these years?
yeah. All these
Okay.
years, absolutely.
Hmm.
So the 9th of March, I still remember 2005, the examination schedule was announced, and the entire society, perhaps the entire Gujarat, was waiting, what's going to happen in the university exams. For this was a big, big challenge, Abhi. Even, at that particular point of time, even the Vice Chancellor had said that, look here, Dr. Nagar, you are at the front. We can only give you back support, but you're at the front. So we planned out, I had written a letter to the police commissioner that, I needed bandobast. The exams were scheduled to commence on the 9th of March, but until the 7th, I did not get any response. And here the teachers said that we are not going to supervise in the exams. And you are the chief supervisor of the university exams. You have to conduct them, and you have no cooperation from the teachers. You have no cooperation from the students, and they in fact went up to the police commissioner's office saying that you should remove Dr. Nagar from being the chief supervisor with immediate effect. and they wrote a draft, and they came with their officers, police officers, and wanted me to sign on that. I said, nothing doing. You can do whatever you want. For 2 hours, Abhi, they went on, in that, filmy style. They went around moving on their bikes, hooting and shouting and doing all that high stuff for 2 hours. And then they realized that I'm not going to sign. Even the police officers were saying that, okay, Doctor, now why don't you sign? Why should you bother about all this thing? And I said, nothing doing. And they thought that they would, maybe the Vice Chancellor would, abide by their
Persuade.
wishes. And they went up to the Vice Chancellor. And the Vice Chancellor said that, look here, I know Dr. Nagar quite well. He's a man of principles, and I'm not going to interfere in what he's doing. So they didn't get any encouragement there. And then, I went up to the police commissioner. I said that, sir, I need bandobast. Please help me. And I prepared a file of, of the newspapers that, reported, all these unsavory and unfair practices in the last 50, 20 years. And he said that, no, this, of course, is newspaper stuff. I want something authentic from the university. So again, I rushed up to the Vice Chancellor. I requested him, sir, this is, a letter that they need. And, the Vice Chancellor was very kind. He said, okay, go to the control of exams, draft what you want, but then it should be between the three of us. It's, it should not come out in the public domain. I said, I'll assure you of that. That's a sensitive center. And with that letter, I went back to the police commissioner. Mr. Srivastava was the commissioner then. And he said, okay, fine, I'll give you bandobast. I said, sir, I need your consent because I've done a little bit of homework. Of the officers that you have, I want these 10 officers, to be given to me in bandobast. And
So you had identified the police officers who could come and help you.
Yeah, and the most honest of one, and it was led by one Mr. Mahavir Singh Rana. He unfortunately has passed away, but he was a man of principles, a man of ethics. And I took the commissioner's permission to call them up. I requested them, sir, that this is an abhiyan that we are doing. It's a movement. We're doing it for the sake of the society, for the future of the country. Please help me. And they assured me that please don't worry, Dr. Nagar will be there. And on the 9th, right at exactly 9:30 in the morning, the entire street, which used to be full of bikes, was a deserted spot. All the students were seated in their respective blocks. The police had full control of the college. The trustees had come. They were wondering what's happening. I said that please give me some time. You could see for yourself. And many of the teachers, of course, initially had refused to supervise, but then better sense prevailed, and then they agreed to supervise. And the examinations went on. I still remember for 33 days. Abhi, I would
and no disturbance.
No disturbance. We would clean all the students right at the entry point. All the students were cleaned. And
after exams, what happened?
Yeah, there is a price tag for everything. These students did not take things in the best of spirits. So they were keeping a watch on me, Abhi, and the new admissions had commenced. It was around May 2005. The examinations had got over, and we were into new admissions. And I was handling the admission thing. And one day when I was going back, after having my meals in Rajkot, this is the Kanchenjunga flats were there, and I was surrounded. I just noticed I first got a big blow on my head. Something hit me very hard. It was a crowbar, and they were masked. They put on masks. There were almost nine or 10 of them on bikes, and they had all the weapons you could imagine. Some had chains, some had brick bats, all the instruments, and they were shouting abuses. And for 5 minutes, they really went on hitting me like anything. I mean, you would never even hit an animal like this. My one of my legs was under the bike. They did not even give me the chance to get up. And I was worried about my eyes. I just covered my head. You know, but then they went on hitting and showering abuses for 5 minutes. And then, I mentioned about Kanchenjunga Flats. There were some ladies who would, it was afternoon time around 1:20 or so. And they saw that, okay, this is the same gentleman who passes by the street every day. He's the principal of a college. And they started making commotion, you know. And in a matter of minutes, a crowd gathered, and these assailants, who were there to finish me off, they saw the crowd was coming, and then immediately they took their bikes and they fled. And by the time sufficient damage had been done, I was partially conscious. I remember the crowd taking me, to the side, and they somebody brought a coconut for me to drink, and I just had one thought: I should call Mr. Rana. I had a phone here in my pocket, the Reliance phone, the 500 rupees thing that in those days, and I said that, sir, there's a situation, please help me. And as if Swami sent him in 5 minutes, he was at the spot. He took me in his van, to Gondia Hospital. Immediately, made me undergo a head scan.
So how many fractures you had?
There were almost 7 fractures. 7. My wrist was broken. My forearm had multiple fractures. My shoulder was dislocated a bit. My spinal cord, the 8th vertebrae, was broken. My left leg was broken. So, and there were internal injuries all over. They asked me, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to lodge an FIR. And they took my statement. I had recognized one of the assailants, and I named that. Okay, these were, I remember the voice. I recollect the voice. And Mr. Rana said that these assailants are still waiting for you downstairs. Therefore, till your FIR is registered, I would not leave you. And the third gentleman at that took my FIR and then ensured that I was given sufficient protection. And I was there in the hospital for around 24 hours. And then the first thought was, what's going to happen to my admissions? I didn't want that to anybody else, to take control of that. I said, I don't want these ruffians in the college at any cost. We have done the cleanup work, and these guys are not. I've given them sufficient time, to change. And if they're not wanting to change, there's no place for them in the college. So my father, my brother, Padmanabh, my father, they all, they came to me, Keitki, the children, they nursed me. The trustees were very good. They sent a van for me. I said, I'm going to the college. And I was in excruciating pain. But then, it was, so that I have to do this. I could not sit. I could not sign. I made a stamp for myself, but then I said I'm going to do the admission work. So in 48 hours, even the police officers could not believe it. I was there back in the office.
With 7 fractures.
With
7 fractures.
With 7 fractures.
You must be crazy.
Yeah. And all those who belong to Swami's fold are really crazy. Nothing at the cost of ensuring that the principles have to be upholded. That's what education is all about. The body might have
So in
might
3 days
suffer.
you came back with the 7 fractures.
Yeah,
I'm sure you're obviously being carried every time.
yeah. I was carried. Yeah, I was carried.
And you finished the admission.
Yeah, I finished the admission work, and then the
And
commissioner said that take this. He gave me 2 commandos that take with them because your life is still at risk. take with them to Porbandar. These commandos would be guarding you all the time. And then for around 15, 20 days, Abhi, I performed all the asanas I knew about, did all my exercises. And in 20 days' time, I removed the plaster and came back to the college. And everybody was shocked. This man has come back. He was not supposed to. And this was May. I finished the admission process. That of course was completed, and then it's around that time I got an invitation from another institute, Abhi, in Porbandar, the VR Godania College. The trustee, the president of the trust was Mr. Dr. Viram Bhai. He invited me that Dr. Nagar, we would want you to now join. We've also heard about you. And it was a win-win kind of a situation. My family was in Porbandar, so I was invited back to Porbandar from Rajkot. The family was away from the family for most,
So, did you
say,
hear,
9 years.
did any of these 36 children or others, did you hear anything about them? Like, was there any kind of transformation or anything like that?
Oh yes, oh yes. I need to share that with you, Ami. Even during the exams, the next year, when I mentioned about Viram by inviting me to Porbandar, the trustees of this college in Rajkot said that Dr. Nagar, we would want you to conduct the examination and then you could join the other institute. So the next year, 2000 March 2006, when I was on my rounds, I got a news that somebody is waiting for me downstairs. And I said, okay, let me see during examination time, we're not supposed to be disturbed. And he said that no, he just wants to see you for a couple of minutes and then he would leave. And I go down, I see three persons just in immaculate white, the clean, the nothing on, no palm thing in their mouth, the clean shaven, no necklaces adorning their chest, and folded hands. They say, they introduce, I'm Dharmeen Singh, Dharmeen Singh. I said, I really don't remember. And he said that, sir, last year, remember there was this, you were going up and down giving announcements, don't use unfair means in the examinations. And I was seated in this particular block and, I saw the efforts that you were making into ensuring that examinations were conducted well. So I got up from my spot. I had come out recently of a coma and I had been forced to, sit for this as proxy for a particular student for personal
Proxy.
reasons. As a proxy, yeah. That was the pattern there. And he really, I don't know what transformation came in him. He fell at my feet and started weeping profusely. And he had left and I'd forgotten about it. Now, 1 year later, this is the same guy, who comes up and says that, sir, I'm that same person, and I just wanted to see you, and I have brought these couple of friends with me, and they just wanted to have a look at you, and we just wanted to tell you that we are walking on, treading on the path of righteousness and truthfulness. We do no wrong, and we just wanted to see you. And they spoke to me for a couple of seconds, and they left. So that was, so very reassuring, that somewhere it really touches, there are people who see, the people who understand, the importance of education. There was another episode, if you would permit me, Abhi, to share. During the 2005 examinations, there was a parent, in fact, he was a self-styled correspondent of a newspaper, Gujarat Samachar, and he would come every day and he would say that, okay, you have done wonderful transformation in the college, very good work, I would want to have a look. So I showed him all the blocks. I said, it's all neat and clean, no unfair means here. And then the next day, he comes with a chit and says that, so please have a look at this chit. I said, what is this? These are the seat numbers of my two children and my son and daughter. I said, you could keep the chit with yourself. I have nothing to do with your chits. Exams would be conducted in a free and fair fashion. Please be reassured of that. And It's an hour later, I get a news that something is happening in one of the blocks. So I rush up there, and I catch hold of this girl, with a lot of material, objectionable material as in the exams. And as I was, copy casing her, taking her answer book and coming out, this, huge, with huge mustaches and all, huge persona, he comes up, there's the storied college. So he, dashes up and obstructs my way and says that, sir, this is my daughter. I said, full respects that she's your daughter, but then has been caught using unfair practice. She has been, she's guilty of using unfair practice. And that he showers abuses one after the other, that now I'm not going to spare you, and you'll not be able to live in this town and all that. And then the police officers who were on the ground floor, they come up and then they say that, look here, he is doing his duty. You can't obstruct a person from executing his duty. Now, this episode was done, in 2005. Now, part two, 2006. After the examinations get over, a parent comes to me and he says that, sir, remember that correspondent Gujarat Samachar? I'm not a correspondent in the first place. And I've just come to tell you that my daughter has given the examinations, in fully fair fashion. Yes, you're not copied. I just wanted to share that with you. Namaskar. I mean, so, I was
Shankar, when you go through these kind of challenging situations, I always like to share this thought, and I would love to hear your views. That why this madness? People would say that when the whole trend is like that, then why to go to such an extent that you even risk your life? How do you feel? Like, what did Swami do that you had developed such a conviction? What is your thought on that?
It's inbuilt. It's a part of your spiritual system. Your values. These are your value systems, I would say. Whatever you have learned from Swami. I think that is what Prashanti stands for. That is what our Institute of Higher Learning or Satya Sai University stands for. These are the value systems that really. I was happy to walk alone. With zero support from your staff, with zero support from the student fraternity. I found support from the parent organization. The parents were very happy with the transformations, and gradually, the media was, so positive about it. I must really put in a word for the media. It was all over in the papers, and everybody, was, saw with their own eyes the transformation that had come about. And the value systems perhaps would have been left incomplete, because just a couple of years back, for the FIR which has been lodged, these students had to visit the police station every day. And we discussed this in the family. I spoke to my children, and I said that, perhaps it was not the students' fault in the first place. They were misguided by somebody. And the judge said, "Are you sure, Dr. Naga, what you're saying?" I said, "I'm quite sure, because I'm a teacher and I don't need a pistol." And Mr. Rana had offered a pistol to me, that, look here, you need to wield this if you have to remain in the city. I said, we are educationists. We come from a different background. I don't need pistols. My pen is good enough, and the the transformation, as I was mentioning, was so heart touching, and as you were mentioning, that it's quite natural, for those who have just stayed in Perth, the response, that, okay, this is correct and this is incorrect. Unfair practices are incorrect, whichever section of the world you are in. And as an educationist, you can't turn a blind eye to that. I was seeing for myself, all the malpractices happening. There was a proven track record. There were files, and you had an opportunity to set it right. And I'm happy to share with you, Avi, that today, that college, which was deprived of it being a college center, now is a good center. We have a good principal there, and the exams are conducted as normally as in any other organization. So you have the satisfaction there that you did your duty. You did your best. I mean,
Shankar, you are heading an institution today also, and it's a very big one. How do
I
you see the life which you led in Perthi, the discipline, the routine of Perthi, and the all the influence of Bhagwan, how is that impacting you today in executing your duties? And have you influenced the routine? Because we people believe that what happens in Perthi can happen in Perthi alone. Outside it is difficult, and yours being a non-Sai, so to say, environment, how do you see the influence of that, and how much are you able to replicate in your environment as an head
Very
coach?
honestly, yeah, Abhi, I mean, the pattern is set. This is, Prashanti is that utopia. It is that Arcadia. It is that El Dorado. You have the structure framed for you. This is the model that you have. So it's only the application part that you have to worry about. So wherever, whether it has been Kohima, whether it's fake, whether it's Rajkot or Patan or Ahmedabad or even Gurukul, it's trying to replicate that system, to the best of my ability. So we have, we have undergone that transformatory phase, into bringing about changes, not merely in the student, but in the entire educational structure at Rajkot. When I was with this institution in Porbandar in Godhania College, the framework that we have, the framework wherein you need to have prayers, you need to have universal prayers, you need to have a good academic teaching taking place, you need to have co-curricular activities in place, you need to give time to the development of the self, all these awareness classes, the model classes that we used to have every Thursday. So that framework I've tried to, with Swami's blessings, I have successfully applied it in all these places. That framework, is complete in itself. It's total in itself. It's how much you can cull out of it. Sorry, I've lost your voice, sir. So you're on mute, sir.
Oh, sorry, sorry. Let me ask you one question about your children, because I believe both of your sons are also the students of our college.
Yeah, they are
So,
Swami's.
and it's a blessing, of
It's a
course,
blessing.
and I feel it's a joy to see many of our alumni, even brothers and sisters side, they have sent their children to Bhagwan school and colleges, and that's how the parent and the child becomes the alumni today. So, Shankar, when you look at your children, what difference, if any, you find? You had the privilege of seeing or living with God in a way. They didn't have that, but they have the same environment. So when you look at them, do you find any difference, or are you satisfied as a father and you say they got it what they have to?
Yeah, I would definitely say I'm more than satisfied. More than satisfied. They couldn't have got any better. You know, the kingdom of heaven is, Prashanti. If I could want to, have that Christian illusion. We had been trying to place, Malhar, my elder son, in Perthi, since his fifth standard. But then he got an opportunity in the 11th standard. He completed his BSc and then his MSc Physics. My younger son, he's doing his physics in Vrindavan. Both have been blessed. And both, since, I left Perthi, we have been regular visitors, of Prashant and Nilyam. They both have had darshan. So this, post and pre, actually does not mean much. It's the general flow. You know that. You see, the body is not going to be eternal. One day or the other, the body has to live. That's, if we have not understood and learned that, I think our study at Prashant Nilyam is incomplete. and my children, it has come down very naturally, and I'm quite satisfied, very satisfied, and I'm so thankful to Swami that Swami has taken them. The promise that he had made. I and you are one. That is what is holding everything together. In that assurance, the entire family, the entire society, or the entire country, or the entire universe, everything comes in that fold. So both of them, are wonderful children. They're so mature, so understanding. My younger son keeps worrying about me as mother would. You need to have this. Now you're putting on weight, and that concern. Is all about education. You get it only in Swami's Institute. Concern, love, affection. All the value systems are fully in place. They're very responsible, very mature, and even as I speak today, Abhi, the university, has been so affectionate to Malhar that he had to conduct some, practicals. So even as I speak with you, he's conducting practicals in Prashantalium at this very moment with one of the most respected of professors there in the physics department. So what more could I ask
I
for,
think
sir?
we can only offer our gratitude to the present
Our
teachers
gratitude.
there,
Yeah, yeah,
those who are keeping the flag going, and it's so beautifully managing the show that our children are, and Swami's legacy is continuing that way. Shankar,
absolutely.
let me have some few pictures of yours as we close, so it'll be
Okay.
nice. So this is your Veda chanting,
Yeah, with the chanting, and
and it
you
is
would see
Swami
that
coming to
Swami.
hostel.
Yeah, this is Swami's visit to the hostel, and you would see that Swami is looking at me, but then my attention is in the Vedam chanting.
That was our
It's
warden
ironic.
that time.
Yeah,
Who is the one who's
Naren,
taking pictures here? Hmm.
Naren, Naren Swami, and that was Swami's Kadin. And
Hmm.
this is an opportunity we had. We were selected by Sai Giridhar, and Sir gave us this opportunity of reciting Vedam in front of Swami during that,
Dashera
the
festival.
Dashera, yeah, Dashera.
Yeah, Havan. This is that
Yeah,
sadhus are sitting behind.
yeah, that's right.
So, and everybody knows that morning we have Havan and evening there is a discourse of Bhagwan.
Yeah,
And this is your
and
prize distribution.
prize distribution ceremony, and Abhi, I mean, I had this habit of participating in number of events. So when the announcement was to be made that these are the events in which I have participated, so even Swami would have to stand for a few seconds for him to complete. That was
Nice.
so amusing. I got a few more moments to stand in close
And
proximity, and
he's our physical director,
physical director. Yeah,
an amazing, a beautiful
I mean,
person who has
beautiful
really
person,
built
absolutely.
the sports department for us.
Yeah,
We remember him very fondly, always.
absolutely. Yeah. He was a gem of a
I
man.
want to tell the viewers that Brother Shankar has also written a book, My Journey with Sai, and the book is available at a bookstore and Satsai Publications in Puttaparthi. It's in English or Hindi, Satya? My
It's
Journey
in
with
English.
Sai.
Yeah,
It's
it's
in
in
English.
English.
Okay.
Yeah, and it has been translated into Gujarati also, and
Okay.
it's available in Gujarati also.
Wonderful. Shankar, I'm so happy. Thank you very much for sharing. As a final question, let me ask you if you have any final words or any summation of your life's journey and being head of the institution. It'll be nice to hear from you for the younger friends. Any
Yeah,
message you would like to convey?
yeah, I could share, Abhi, if you permit, a poem that I had written many years back. It
Sure.
talks about Prashanti and how we need to recharge our batteries. It's
Hmm.
a very short poem. तिरती है प्रशांति घाटी में अस्थिर दुख पर सुख की छाया जग के दुखी हृदय पर साईं राहत देने आया ये हरियाली तेरी भरी आकांक्षाओं से स्कूल विश्वविद्यालय मंदिर से प्रेरित मानव जाति आशाओं से समझ लीलाएं इस साईं की, आशा है इसमें नवजीवन की। हृदय थाम लेता संसार, देखकर उनका ये चमत्कार। हंसते हैं वो बच्चों के संग, वार्तालाप हैं मुनियों के ढंग। शस्य अपार, शौर्य अपार, हिल 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 हाथ हिलाते, तुझे मुझे बुलाते, बैटरी चार्ज तब कर पाते।
Thank you. Beautiful. We are again, we can only offer our gratitude to Bhagwan for this beautiful opportunity. And thank you, Shankar,
Yeah, it was
for
such a pleasure talking
giving
to
us
you,
this.
Urvi.
Yeah, it's a journey, nostalgic journey. We always go through it, and it's such a joy to hear about Bhagwan. So thank
Absolutely.
you very much. A grateful
Yeah,
pranams to
thank you.
everybody. The
Yeah,
video will be
Sai Ram.
available on the channel for everybody to watch and share. Thank you.
Yeah,
Sai
thank you so
Ram.
much. Sai Ram. Sai Ram.